All right, welcome back to Intro to 3D Animation. We're going to talk about, now that you have your image sequences done out of Maya, you've imported them into After Effects, just putting some finishing touches on things like adding some titles, opening and ending credits, as well as some fade-ins and outs, maybe some transitions, etc., etc. So, I showed you in my last tutorial where we were doing the import of these image sequences and lining them up to our audio. Maybe now I do a little bit of transition work as well. And I know I've shown you a little bit of this in the past. After Effects doesn't really have traditional like video transitions built in the way that Premiere does with like cross dissolves and fade in and out, but you can recreate them very easily with opacity shifts from one layer to another. So if I come through, this is the first animation, this is my bouncing ball, back to that same one, back to the bouncing ball. Right now you consider these hard cuts, basically if you zoom in on them, and actually I have a little bit of overlap already happening there. If I go to the end of one, and then I have the next one kind of continuing right after it, right? But if I take this layer and just back it up a little bit, maybe not just like by the frame, but by the second, let me move it out a little bit more. There we go. I can get a bit more overlap here. So if I look here, I'm about 4 minutes or 4 seconds, 15th of a second. So I'm going to go to like 3:15. So that's 1 second of time. I'm going to just try to zoom out a little bit so we can kind of see how we're getting. Sorry, this is such a short animation. I'll just stay out here. So we're at about 3 to 4.5 seconds. So if I overlap this one on top of the other, I can easily set a keyframe, right? So I can set just by hitting the little stopwatch under transform. So I unfolded the layer and I hit the stopwatch there to add a keyframe. I can move that keyframe over and then change it back to 0. So now this keyframe starts at 0 and then dissolves this one coming in on top of it, right? So you want to make sure your keyframes are over the layer. If they're off, you're going to see a little like flash afterwards. Then I can select those keyframes. I can copy them. I did Command C, but you could come up here to copy. And then I'm going to add my next one on top of that. So I'll try to overlap these by a second or so. And let's see how this goes. So I'm going to unfold this just to keep it consistent. Yeah, that's good. If I go to here, that's still over the last layer. So then I have that fading back in, and then my last layer, and I'll paste it again. If I unfold that layer, you'll see my keyframes are still there. And it looks like this one, that's pretty good. I could actually bump it over a hair. But now I have a nice fade of one dissolving into the next, that maybe gives a little bit of a smoother sense. I mean, hard cuts are fine too. I'm not saying you have to do all dissolves. I just wanted to show you how to do a dissolve. And then maybe I grab one more layer here at the end and put it on top. I'm just going to copy and paste it one more time. You'll notice this time, because, well, actually, you know what? I didn't do a dissolve on this first one, so we'll copy it one more time, if I remember correctly, because it was the first one. Yeah, I don't have any transform keyframes, so I'm going to go ahead and paste that on. Whoop! I should copy the keyframes and not the whole layer. There we go. And let's just back that up a little bit so our keyframes stay consistent. And now a final dissolve over that. And I'm going to go ahead and extend this out for my preview range. Nice. And my audio track is plenty long for this. It'll continue to go. So at the beginning and the end, obviously we want to add a little something too. We want to do a fade in and a fade out. Usually I make those a little longer than my dissolves, but these clips are pretty short. So I think I'll just do like a 2-second fade in. So I'm going to go to the beginning of my first track here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit an opacity of 0. I'll type that in just so we start black. And then I'll come out to the 2-second mark. And I'll go ahead and bring that up to 100%. So now I have a nice fade in from black at the beginning. And then at the end, I'll go back up to this one. Looks like I end right around 14:05, so I'll come up to 12:05 roughly. That'll work. And I'll just copy my last 100% keyframe, paste it there, and then go to the end and type in 0 and hit return, and it'll automatically make that last keyframe. So now I have both a fade in and a fade out at the end. Nice, ready to roll. Now, beyond that, let's do some credits. One of the things that After Effects is so good at is adding text. So in case you're wondering what I just did, I just selected all my layers. You can open and close them by having them all selected at the same time. So I did Command A or Control A. I think you can also come up here, select all. Yeah, there you go. So first thing I want to be able to do is I'm going to leave the audio synced where it is. So I'm going to move everything together, right? So I'm going to grab everything and just move it over. I'm going to give myself a good 3 seconds at the beginning and end for my title credits. And that's not a lot for title credits, but just so I don't have to change my composition length right now, that'll work. So I have 3 seconds and 3 seconds, right? So at the beginning, I don't know what to call this animation. Bouncing music ball, maybe. Let's call it that. So at the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and grab my type tool up at the top, and I'm just going to drag out a text box. So let's call this bouncing ball sounds. And if I stretch that out a little bit, looks like my type is set really large right now. I was working with some type last time that was probably pretty big. So take that down to like 90. And if I hold down Option or Alt, actually that doesn't work in After Effects the same way. Sorry about that. Kerning works the same way. There we go. I got it. So Option and then arrow, and I can change the leading, which is cool. These can also be found right here on the text settings here. I think if I do like 150, that's my kerning. And then if I did it down here, that would be my, actually that's vertical height. I take that back. I believe it's, well, I guess my only way that I know, maybe it's under the paragraph settings, is using the option. So if I want to change kerning, it's Option and arrow to the left or right, or Alt on a PC. And then same thing here. If I want to bring that down, I can use my vertical up and down arrows to change the leading. So I'll just leave that there. You know, I don't have to have it in a break like this. I could have it all in one line. I can just stretch this out. It doesn't have to be broken, but maybe I want to put some space between them. In this case, a single space, but maybe increase the kerning. Just wanted to make sure I didn't have an extra space there. That kerning's actually pretty good. All right, these guys, just so I can match it, I'm going to bring them out a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to grab this bit of type, and I'm actually going to change this, just shrink it down a little bit. I'm holding Shift as I scale it down. You can turn on rulers with Command or Control R as well, or you can go up to View and turn on your rulers. You know I'm 1920, so if I wanted to go with 910 pixels roughly, somewhere in there, that's about my center point. If I actually bring up my info panel, I think I see, it'll tell me where I'm at. 19, oh, there we go, 910 pixels into a 1920 width. So if I want to line this up a little bit better, that's not right. I don't think that was right. I don't think I got that quite where it needed to be. I know I said 1920 by 1080. Oh, you know what? The width on this is off. I actually have 1920. So am I doing that right? Oh, it would be 950. So 918, 950, 960 is what I'm actually looking for. Sorry, I did the wrong math. Let me see if I can get that right there. There's that halfway point I was looking for. I was like, that doesn't look very... And then if I hold Shift, I can snap it to that guide. That's just if you really want to get it perfectly centered. Okay. There's so many ways that you can play around. First thing, obviously, we could just do a fade in and out. So that's super easy, right? So I can take my title track up here. And you'll notice it's the full width up here, but I could just fade it in and fade it out, right? So let's add that first. So we'll go ahead and set an opacity of 0 to start. We'll do like 1 second to bring it up to 100%. We'll go to 2 seconds. We'll copy that 100% keyframe and paste it. And then we'll go back to here and back out again to 0, right? Very simple now. We just have a fading in and out title, and then right into my animation, right? The fades work off of each other. They overlap nicely. Now, I could do something else as well. I could change the position of this over time. So this could be the final position that I wanted in. So I could set a position keyframe. But then I could have it off screen. If I go back to 0, I could move it from over here. You'll see there's a motion line that it creates. So bring it in as it fades in. Again, copy that position so it stays in place and paste it. And then back out again, and this time I could take it off screen to the right. And if I do that and give it a little playthrough, let's see what it looks like. It's just caching this. It should play back in real time here in just a second. There we go. Doesn't feel quite like real time, but that might just need to speed the whole thing up. One of the things you can do, which is nice, is After Effects works in a similar way. I can grab keyframes, and if I hold Option-Alt down, I can scale them evenly, like a group of keyframes, right? So if I wanted to, I could do something like that just to kind of speed up the process a little bit, and then have them hold a little bit longer, right? So if I don't like how that looks, I can have it come in a little bit quicker, and then back out again. Still doesn't quite feel like real time. I'm going to turn this quality down to half. Sometimes that helps speed things up. Yeah, it's not real time. I'm getting a warning up here. I'm not sure why my RAM is doing that today. I must be just using a lot of my RAM up for some reason. So I'll have to actually export this to get it working. It's probably because I'm screen capturing all this while I'm trying to animate. It's just using up a lot of my RAM. So yeah, you can play around quite a bit. You can also play around with little keyframe assistance on these if you want to. You can do ease in and out. You can do like an easy ease, which is kind of like, so an ease in, you'll see it kind of eases in from one direction. Whoop, sorry. If I right click on that again and do keyframe ease in, and then I could do an ease out on both of these if I select them together, keyframe assistant and then ease out. And that's just going to give you kind of a little bit more of a physics kind of slide in to place and then slide back out again and kind of speed up as it goes. So once I have all that going, the only other thing I'll show you on titles that you can do is you can also do some masking techniques on them if you want to. You know, obviously I could scale these, I could rotate them, I could do all sorts of things. But on any type, you can also add a masking technique as well. So if I add a mask, you'll see there's now a mask layer in here as well. And you can do all sorts of things. So like while it's moving in from the right, I could have it kind of reveal at the same time. So first of all, I'll go ahead and unfold the mask. And maybe I'll go ahead and just set a keyframe on the mask path, which is it's basically like the shape of the mask. And then as I come over here, I'll zoom out a little bit. I'll grab these 2 points. Let me click off the mask. If I hold down Shift, I can grab these 2 points. And I can shrink it down. So as it animates in, it's kind of revealing the text as well. I don't know if that's revealing as well just because it's in motion at the same time. But you can do some fun stuff with that. Maybe instead of from that direction, actually I'll go from the opposite. Let's try that. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. That's kind of fun. And then we'll copy that keyframe again and paste it. And then on the way back out again, let's do it the opposite. Whoop, excuse me. Click off, hold down Shift and grab these 2. And you should be able to see it it looks like it's almost shrinking down in a way. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Let's see how that looks. And you know, I'll do the same thing. I'll do an ease in. You right click on that, and keyframe assistant ease in, and then on this one, keyframe assistant ease out. Not bad. You know what? I think actually on this one, I'm going to back up just a little bit. I think I'm going to actually have it come from the other side and see how that looks. Yeah, I think that's maybe a little more interesting where it's like on its way out, it's kind of shrinking away as it moves. So we'll try that and do a ease out. Right click again, keyframe assistant, and ease out. Let's try that. Yeah, I like that. So you get into kind of a little bit of some of the fun typography stuff that you can do. You can also do some fun things with like feathers on the mask. As it comes in, you can increase the feather, which kind of like fades in one side to the other, as you can see. You can get vertical or horizontal with the feather, but you know, I could give it a feather mask just to give it kind of a softness as it animates in those two sides. It almost looks like it's kind of going behind a curtain or kind of fading away as it goes. So I'll leave those in there. Last thing I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole thing and paste it. And then I'm going to move it down to the end for my end credits. So there's my front end credits. And transform and mask. Let's bring those in. And we're going to have to shrink these a little bit, unfortunately. So let me grab my keyframes, because it's not quite 3 seconds at the end. I'm going to hold Option and shrink that down. Yeah, that looks like it's going to fit pretty well. And let me zoom in over here. We just need to change the type. So we can say like music by Devo, even though it's totally not music by Devo. That would be amazing if it was. And I should have had my text as center justified. Just so, yeah, I'll just do it there so it's at least still centered as I redo all this. And I realize I have to adjust my mask now a little bit because it is a little bit shorter. So let's do, when it gets into here. Oh, you know what? Actually not shorter. I forgot to put in the M. There we go. Music by Devo. I think that's pretty good. It looks a little off. I feel like there's maybe some spaces in here. Or maybe I think we just need to change its position. So as we come into here, yeah, there's its position. We'll just kind of put it right about there. How's that look? If I turn on my, there we go. And then we can copy this position keyframe. Oh, I actually see my keyframes are just a hair off from each other. But I'm going to go ahead and copy that one and hold it on that one. And then we'll turn that into an ease out just to match. Okay, so let's try that. We're going to go ahead and make sure, take our preview over here. There we go. And if you want to, last little thing, since our audio track is obviously a bit longer, on the fade out here, I'm going to add a fade out on the audio too. So it's just as easy to put a little audio level. So I'm going to put a keyframe there, and then at the end, I will go ahead and drop my audio out. If you want to do it here, you can come up to the top and just drag that slider down under audio. In that case, it went to like -12 dB, but then it gives me a nice fade out on the audio too. So if I there you go. Same thing we could do at the very beginning, but you know, obviously I think we want our audio to kind of come in at the same time as everything else. So if I unfold that, I could go ahead and set, I'll copy my initial keyframe here and bring it right to the same point of the fade in, and then go back to the beginning and drop the audio down at the beginning as well. So I have a matching audio and video kind of fade up and down. Does that make sense? Hope so. If I do that there, you'll be able to see it. So, last case to do here. I'm going to zoom out. Yep, see the whole thing. I'm going to grab everything and kind of fold it up. And take my preview range all the way back out again. And just I always do a quick little just like scrub through. Looks good, nice fades. Music by Devo, and then back out. Cool. We're ready to export this. Send it to Adobe Media Encoder. Obviously, Adobe Media Encoder takes a second. And we're going to do the standard YouTube or Vimeo 1080p export settings. Give it a second here to load up. Always takes a second here. I don't know why. Sometimes, people think there's an error, but if you usually just wait 10 or 15 seconds, it will show up. There it is. If you go down now over here on the left under the preset browser and come down to YouTube, I kind of like the Vimeo one. I just think it's like slightly higher quality. Throw that on. If you want to see where it's going to export to, I'm going to put it on my desktop just as test audio comp. And I'm going to save. And you can always open this up. The two settings that I'll do, so you have to wait for a minute for this dynamic link server to connect, and sometimes that can be a little bit longer. If it is, just get up, go get a drink of water, come back, and I swear it'll load. I don't know why it does that. I think it's checking something online. But anyway, usually I'll turn on use maximum render quality and render at maximum depth. And it's just a place where you can check your height and width, make sure everything looks right. Hit OK. And start. And if you want to free up some resources, you can then quit After Effects. You don't have to have After Effects open while Media Encoder is running. This is spitting out rather fast because it's so short. And we're just going to finish up here by looking at the final animation. A few more seconds. All right, let's open this puppy up. Here we go.
All translations betray their matchless originals. This is eked out by the true well-known Italian firm, Traduttore Italiano.
There we go.